They talk about the boom, but do they mention the bust? The headlines scream luxury, but the numbers don't lie. It's time to look the market straight in the eye.
Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range.
With Peter Zalewski, the authority here, making the complex simple, making the murky clear. From the buy-side pressure to the sell-side heat, we're tracking every move on the concrete street. We got the data, the stats, the metrics you need. Beyond the flash and the glamour, we're planting the seed of truth. We analyze the trends, we map out the spread. Is it vintage charm or a money pit trap? We're looking at the analytics, closing the gap. Past performance, present shock, future prediction. Separating hard reality from the friction of fiction. No sugarcoating, no fluff, no disguise. Just the raw condo numbers right before your eyes. South Florida is shifting, the tides start to turn. If you don't know the math, you're gonna get burned. Yeah, this is the Miami Condo Exchange.
Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range.
With Peter Zalewski, keeping it real, digging deep in the dirt of every single deal. From the buy-side pressure to the sell-side heat, the only podcast you need on the Miami street. Hey.
Real numbers, real talk.
The hyperbole stops here. This is the Miami Condo.
Number exchange, y'all.
Happy Tuesday, Miami. This is Miami Condo Exchange. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. The Miami Condo Exchange is a analytical, a statistical, a trend perspective about what's going on in the South Florida condo market. Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. We're going to get into the data. We're going to lay out the numbers. We're going to tell you what's exactly going on right now. Let me give you a little glimpse. What's going on right now is this is the best condo market since at least January 1st of 2025. How do I know that? Why do I know that? When do I know that? I know that because we set up on January the 1st of 2025, we set up Index, the South Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff Index. We also set up a sister index called the South Florida Vintage Condo Cliff Index. What is this index all about? It's about tracking real time what's going on in the marketplace on a week over week basis. Every Tuesday, since January 1st of 2025, we've been tracking the market. We're looking at active listings, we're looking at pending sales. We are spitting out a number. We're applying a score. We're doing it for the overall market. We're doing it for the vintage market. What's vintage market? Vintage market for those condos at least 30 years old or older. These are the ones that are under greater scrutiny as a result of the legislation that followed in response to the Surfside condo collapse when at Champlain Tower South. When it went down, nearly 100 people died. Ultimately, $1 billion settlement was paid out to families of victims. Well, we have an index that tracks actually what's going on for South Florida. We also have an index of what goes on with the overall market. In addition, we have indices that will track 22 additional markets and then 22 additional vintage markets. What are the markets that we track? South Florida. Overall vintage. You just keep them both straight. Then we do South Florida on both sides. Then we look Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. Do it the same for vintage. Then we get into 19 additional markets everywhere from Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Key Biscayne, Granite out to Miami. Take it all the way up to Hollywood, Hallandale. We include Aventura. We go to Fort Lauderdale. We got Delray Beach. We got Boca. We got West Palm Beach and the island, Palm Beach Island, which is where Mar-a-Lago is located, Donald Trump's weekend location while he's serving as president, and probably much longer than that. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about why Why is this such a strong South Florida condo market right now? Well, tell you real simple. Sales are spiking. At the same time, prices are falling. How are we going to know how far they're falling? We're not going to know until the end of the quarter. Quarter ends at the end of this month. Then there'll be some processing time, and the real estate industry will release statistics. When they release those statistics, what you're going to see is that sales have gone up tremendously. Why are they going up tremendously? Because sellers are heading for the exits. The cost of condo living has gone up substantially, especially in 2026. Why is that? Because now suddenly all of these studies that have been required under new legislation go ahead and inspect these buildings. Every 10 years, they do something called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. It's called a SIRS. And then at the 30-year mark, they're doing something called a milestone inspection. That's the big study. That's when inevitably a lot of things are discovered. That's typically when your balconies have to be replaced, the windows are replaced, all kinds of other things. And what we're finding right now is many condo owners are heading for the exits because they simply can't afford it. Why? Rising maintenance fees, hefty special assessment, and insurance premiums that are extremely pricey. Now, the insurance might have been pulling back recently because we had a soft or a relatively quiet hurricane season last summer, but costs are still much higher than they were prior to the Surfside condo collapse back in June of 2021. So we have a very dynamic market right now, but potentially if you were a buyer, this is a good time to start kicking the tires. And a lot of buyers are. Why? Because we're seeing the pending sales spike. Same time, we're seeing the prices fall. How are we going to know if we're right? How are we going to know if we're wrong? We're not going to know until the data comes out. Why? Because closed sales data is typically after the fact. If you watch Wall Street, if you watch what's going on with the economy, typically what they say is unemployment numbers. That's telling you where we were. And the stock indices tell you where we're going. And that's what we created this index for, so that you can track things on a week-over-week basis. And therefore, if you're playing the game, you got real-time information about where should I be playing. And if you're selling, should I be confident or should I start to be bold and cut the price and get the hell out? Why would you want to get the hell out? Because we got 38 days left in the winter buying season. Winter buying season will go from November through April. That's an important time because people come to town. They come here for an event. They come here for vacation. They come here to go on a cruise. While they're here, they come to the conclusion that, you know what, I like this place. Maybe I'm going to buy a place in a condo and I'm going to turn around and rent it out. I'll do Airbnb. Or maybe I'll buy a second home so I can come down here a few times a year and enjoy it. Or maybe I might even think about relocating altogether. So what typically happens is during the winter, November through April, you shop. And inevitably, once you finally find a place, you go under contract, you do the due diligence, you get the financing, or maybe you go in cash. You're not closing till at least 30 days, which is probably cash, or at least 60 days, if it's probably financing. That's when you close it. So what typically happens? You shop during the winter, and then during the summer, a lot of the deals end up transacting. That'll be from May through October. What we normally find is May is busy, June is busy, July starts to tail off, August, dead silent. Nothing's going on in August. Why? Everybody is up in the Hamptons. They're in Europe. They're in North Carolina. They're anywhere but South Florida because of heat, humidity, hurricane warnings. So those sellers who need to get out because they simply can't afford to live in their condos, they got 38 days. May 1st, basically game over. Anybody who was already in motion, you might stand a chance. And who's left standing? The only people who are probably going to be left standing down here this summer are going to be data-driven discount buyers looking for a deal. They're going to want a deal, and those sellers, once these fly-by-night buyers who are coming in here and they're sort of just falling in love with what South Florida is, not necessarily being run by the data, once they're gone, now you're dealing with the likes of people who actually understand the numbers. And if you understand the numbers, you know prices are way too damn high. Why? Cap rates are coming in less than 1%. Doesn't matter if it's an overall condo, doesn't matter if it's a vintage condo. Remember, 30 years or more. There's no cap rate. Inflation is getting close to 3%. We have interest rates on the way up as a result, primarily because of the Iran war. You also know what's going on with fuel prices. Affordability is an issue, and you got the added cost of living in one of these condominiums because of rising maintenance fees, because of hefty special assessments, and because of the insurance premiums that are much higher than where they were prior to the Surfside collapse. So this makes for a perfect situation, a perfect opportunity if you're a buyer and if you're a seller. I've been telling you, you need to be bold. You need to cut that price and you need to head for the exits. Because if you don't, you're basically riding this thing out and you might get somebody between May and July. Most likely, though, you're sitting on that place till at least September. And you know what's probably happened? Once you get 4 deals on the board in a building, I was told by a commercial real estate appraiser, the whole building resets. And if it's resetting downward, that means the price today is probably higher than the price is going to be by the time you're actually able to sell this damn thing in sometime in September is what I would sort of suggest people. So what we're going to do over the course of, I don't know, call it the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to show you charts. I'm going to show you what's going on based on the indices. I'll tell you I'll give you some ideas, which markets are hot, which markets are not, which ones are struggling. I'll also tell you that Palm Beach County, out of the Tri-County area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County is the best condo market in all of South Florida. It doesn't matter if it's overall or it is vintage. Palm Beach County is on fire. And I guess that means it's good nowadays in today's lexicon. Used to be cool or used to be awesome. Typically fire meant it was scorched earth. It was all going to hell. But right now it is on fire. It is happening. A big part of the reason is the power structure that is in Palm Beach County, especially West Palm Beach, because of President Trump and his Mar-a-Lago and his weekends in Palm Beach County. What's happening is a bunch of people are buying condos in and around there. Maybe they're buying vintage, maybe they're buying overall, but basically West Palm Beach is driving what is the Palm Beach County market. In addition to that, and remember, they want to be around the power structure. They're digging in, they're investing, they're playing. You also got the whole Wall Street South marketing campaign that Palm Beach County's rolled out. Little secret. They've been talking about Wall Street South for 100 years, going all the way back to the 1920s. And in fact, it's cited in Andrew Ross Sorkin's book called 1929. If any of you have not read 1929, pick it up. I highly recommend it. But before you read that, read another book, which is my favorite. It's called Bubble in the Sun. Came out in 2019, written by a guy called Christopher Knowlton. He's a business journalist. And I've read it 7 times. Let me get that right. 7 times I've read this book. It is so good, and it describes a situation where we were leading up to the 1920s, and then ultimately the market goes to hell. And then 1929, Andrew Ross Sorkin, they didn't coordinate it, but they worked perfectly. It's a perfect bookend to understand kind of where we are. These are great books. But anyways, Wall Street South, they've been jabbering about this thing for 100 years.